is Soccer Sunday, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us here on MLS Playoff Central, presented by Audi. One team is into the conference finals. That is the Seattle Sounders, guys. We have three more that will do it today. A back-to-back-to-back 2017 Audi MLS Cup Playoffs triple header for you coming today on ESPN and FS1. And I am surrounded by three people that I love talking soccer with. We'll start with Kalen Carr. He is the host of The Movement. You remember him back in the day, wearing the helmet, scoring goals in MLS Cup for the Houston Dynamo and doing his thing for the Chicago Fire. Welcome, Kalen.
Thanks, Weebs.
Patrice Bernier, putting you a little... you know what? I thought you were the best-dressed man on the panel. Patrice comes in. He's the smoothest man in MLS, or at least he was until he retired after this season. Impact legend, Canada legend. Patrice, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And then the World Cup winner on the panel. Save you for last, Megan. That's what's up. Megan Klingenberg, of course, won a championship earlier this year with the Portland Thorns and has a long and storied career with the U.S. national team. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Of course, we're here for one reason. That is to talk soccer. There are three games coming up starting at 3 p.m. Eastern. Toronto FC with that 2-1 aggregate lead against the New York Rebels. 2 road goals as well. That one's at 3 p.m. Eastern on ESPN, ESPN Deportes, TSN, and TVA Sports. NYCFC hosts Columbus Crew SC at Yankee Stadium at 5. They are down 4-1 after that first leg at Mapfre Stadium. Then Portland hosts the Houston Dynamo at 7:30 p.m. The nightcap on FS1, Fox Deportes, TSN, and TVA Sports. They are scoreless coming into the second leg out there. And, of course, all these teams trying to keep their dreams alive. Everybody wants to win the Philip F. Anschutz Trophy. Everybody wants to be in MLS Cup. Let's get it started with the nightcap. And let's start with Portland Timbers injuries, because the walking wounded and the not walking wounded continues to grow for Caleb Porter. They have suffered from injury problems all year, Kalen, and now we're looking at Diego Chara out. Probably Fernando Adi out with that hamstring. Questionable. Larry Smaviala, the hip strain. Sebastian Blanco, the bizarre foot burn that kept him out of leg one. And then David Guzman as well, the knee sprain. So their central midfield is ravaged. Up top, they have some issues. Diego Valeri's got to carry it. How do you deal with this if you're Caleb Porter?
Well, you have to. There's no time. The second leg, I'm excited for this one. I think the biggest name amongst that group is Chara, who you just saw going off on the stretcher there, broken metatarsal reportedly. So he's the anchor of that position. And Patrice, you know how important that position is to a team in the playoffs.
Yeah, for me, that's the soul, that's the heart of the team. And a player like him, he's got volume. He doesn't just sit there. He covers a lot of ground, recovers the ball, helps the defense, makes them breathe, lets those forward guys really express themselves, knowing that they have a guy in the midfield that can win the ball easily and cover the ground that they can't, pretty much. So it's going to be interesting to see if those players that are coming in his position can do the work, and the same chemistry can keep going for those guys forward and allowing Diego Valeri to get the ball and do his thing.
Lawrence Olam, Amobi Akugo, Megan, came into this lineup in the first leg against Houston, who are going to try to hit on the break. Albert Elise, Kubo Torres perhaps, or Manotas, we're not sure, and then Romo Kyoto. Take me inside the mind of a defender. When you have the two anchors, the rocks that you rely on in front of you, how does that change for the back line? How does the job change?
The way that the Timbers play, they love to get their outside backs forward. They fly them up the line to try and get the ball into their center mids to create play, wreak havoc. But that leaves them a bit exposed defensively. So to be able to cover for that, they need their center backs and Ridgewell to be able to step up and stop that counterattack before it starts. And ultimately, if they can't do that, then they also have to make sure that they can't get in behind. Keep the play in front of you.
This is a team that's got to win this game. A scoring draw is edge for Houston. They would move on. Look, Kalen, this is a team that maybe didn't expect to be here in the Dynamo. This is all money, according to Wilmer Cabrera. He says, you know what? We won a playoff game. We pushed through. We got a good result in leg one, even if it wasn't exactly what we wanted at home. They're playing with house money, and they look at this and they have to say, this is an opportunity for us to accelerate maybe where we thought we'd be.
Yeah, I mean, you have to look into the scope of where Houston has been. Haven't made the playoffs since 2013. Now back in it, get through the first round, survive against a tough team at home. But I feel like they left something on the table in that first match, and we saw what happens. Vancouver Whitecaps trying to be content at home, go on the road. It's not as easy as it looks. Even a depleted team, Portland's always been one of the toughest teams to play in Providence Park. I think Portland has a big edge in this one.
Houston Dynamo trying to pull off the upset. Our own Jillian Sakovits is out in Portland. Let's go to her now.
Andrew, as Caleb Porter put it, Injuries this season have become the Timbers' normal. This game tonight is going to test their depth the same way that the entire regular season has. He said in his 5 years here, this is by far the most that this Timber squad has had to deal with injuries. You had Liam Ridgewell, who was out half the year. Fernando Adi, he's been out the past third of the year. So being shorthanded, it doesn't really bother this group. But what might bother them a little bit is missing a guy as important as Diego Chara. As Diego Valeri put it, you simply can't replace him. And frankly, one stat that you can't ignore is that this team is 0-3-2 without him. But there's another statistic in this game that really can't be overlooked, and it's the fact that the Dynamo are coming in here with just one road win all season, and that came in D.C. When I talked to Wilmer Cabrera, he said that he knows it is going to be quite a challenge to come into Providence Park tonight, a place where the Timbers have won 6 straight, and they haven't been shut out all season. But he says that the Dynamo are going to be ready because, frankly, they don't have a choice. I think here in Portland, the difference is going to be how much Providence Park plays into this game and how much these two teams respond to filling their respective voids. Guys.
Thank you, Jillian. Of course, we'll be checking in with her at Providence Park. Susanna Collins at Yankee Stadium, and Dave Goff's coming up in just a second from BMO Field for that first game between Toronto FC and the New York Red Bulls. We're talking about injuries for the Timbers, and we know they've been absolutely gutted. We'll see what happens when those lineups come out. But, Megan, there's an issue for the Houston Dynamo as well. They will be without their starting goalkeeper, Tyler Derrick, suspended. You can see here, arrested Tuesday morning, charged with misdemeanor assault in connection with an alleged domestic incident. He's been suspended pending investigations by MLS and the Houston PD. Will not play. Joe Willis into the lineup. Some people might look at this and say, what's the big deal? Goalkeepers can be swapped. Both these guys have starting caliber ability. But it's communication. It's all the quarterbacking that those players do. How does this change the job of that back line?
In Portland, when we play, we don't just say we play in a back 4. We say that we play in a back 5 because that goalkeeper is such an integral part of that back line, making sure that they're pushing the line, dropping the line, letting us know when marks are coming into the box, and ultimately they make different decisions based upon personnel who's in. So it's a really big loss for the Dynamo. It's going to be hard to make up.
Well, Tyler Derrick was the player of the month for the entire league over the last month and has led this back line. 4 of their last 5 matches have been a shutout. 2 playoff matches he's held a back line. So a big 0 in the back. So Joe Willis does have experience. He's a guy that they'll trust. But as far as that connection that you speak about, Megan, they will have to form that on the fly in a tough environment today.
Look, a shutout would be good for the Dynamo, of course. They've got the road goals on their side, Patrice. If they get some, all of a sudden the tone of this match changes, and the Timbers got to come out, push forward, and open up maybe those spots in behind for the Elises, the Roma Kyotos of the world, maybe the Manotas or Kubos. We'll see up top. How do you approach this game if you're the Houston Dynamo, if you're Wilmer Cabrera? Do you sit back in, wait for a mistake by the Timbers, or do you look at that depleted lineup and say, let's go after it. Let's go get the Robos. Let's go take control of this tie.
Oh, definitely. You look at it, you see that the other team, their starting 11 has changed, and there's a belief because it's 0-0. So you know you're going out there knowing if we score a goal, then they have to score 2 to win the game. Because you know with that 1-1, they can go and win it all. So, and like you said, Elise, Kyoto, I played against them against Honduras. These guys are lethal. They go fast forward. And Portland is a team that likes to play the ball. They're at home. They'll have the advantage. But you got to watch out because Houston can go out there and they can probably score you a goal without you noticing it. And if you make too many plays and you're losing a guy like Diego Chara, it could cost you because he's usually the guy that breaks those plays, that doesn't allow those guys to go forward.
Houston doesn't need a lot of guys to score a goal.
No, they don't.
One guy, one-on-one on the wings. Even Sanchez coming off the bench can make an impact in this one. The speed of those 2 on the wings, I think, is their best chance going forward. And Portland does have a little bit of a tendency to push forward, get involved from that home crowd, and get a little carried away, leaving some space in behind. So I think that's where Houston's opportunity is on the break.
Yeah, no doubt a sellout here at Providence Park. It's going to be an amazing atmosphere, I have to imagine. And Diego Valeri is a guy who feeds on that atmosphere. Arguably the Landon Donovan most valuable player. He has been so good this year, 20-10 for the Portland Timbers. And he is our subject of our Audi Player Index Spotlight after what has been a career year for the Argentine. You can see here, I'm going to focus on that second stat there. 19 of his 21 goals from inside the box this season. He has become an assassin with his head. And Kaylin and Megan, I'm going to send you guys to the board. I want you to dig in a little bit. Show me why he's been so successful in 2017.
Diego Valeri, the subject of our Audi Player Index spotlight today, and it's his late arriving runs in the box that have really made the difference. You'll see here, Megan, Darlington Nagbe getting forward in the attack. He's the type of player that's going to demand attention. Count it, 1, 2, 3, 4 players, which then opens up space on the flanks.
Yeah, Zarek Valentin, the outside back, does a great job getting forward here. He stays wide, makes DeMarcus Beasley have to make a decision, and because he stays wide, gives himself some time, able to pick his head up on the box, and Diego Valeri doesn't miss from there.
As an outside back, are you looking for this run in the box, the late one?
Yeah, absolutely. There's 4 runs you look for. Near post, far post, in a slot, and then the late arriving run. That late arriving run is the hardest for a defender to mark. So if Diego Valeri is making the late arriving run and he's open, give him the ball.
And he's done it over and over again. We see here at Providence Park, him checking a little bit deeper into the midfield, creating space for himself. But then what he does in the box is so special.
Yeah, this clip shows why Diego Valeri should be the MLS MVP this year. He comes in, he gets some touches on the ball, but when it looks like it's breaking down, he opens up, gives himself space, and then gets on the end of it and scores.
Dangerous on the floor, dangerous in the air. Diego Valeri has done it over and over again in the box. 19 times counted of 21 goals from inside the box this season. That's what's making him your MLS MVP.
Thanks, Kaylin. We will see how those voters vote, but I imagine Diego Valeri will be collecting that hardware later on this season. Let's talk about the guy who won it last year. That's David Villa. NYCFC will host Columbus Crew SC at Yankee Stadium at 5 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. They have a 4-1 deficit that they're staring straight into. Patrice, they got worked over last year in the playoffs. This is a little bit of a gut check time, and when you watch that 4-1 game, some people were talking about where's the leadership, and I'm not saying David Villa didn't bring it. I'm saying you cannot let that last goal in to go 4-1 because now they have a mountain to climb.
No, the game was, they had the chances if they had been more efficient, but at the end of the day, that red card did play something. But they could have closed out the game, keep it to 3-1, maybe scored second goal, but unfortunately, that 4th goal could be the difference maker.
Crew SC, of course, with a wonderful story right now, Megan. What did you see from them in this game from an attacking perspective? Here's that awful run. It's also awful defending, if I may say so. But this is a team that can score in bunches, and Greg Berhalter says, we're not sitting back. We're going to Yankee Stadium trying to get away goals and trying to put this one out of reach.
This was a game where I could have easily seen it ending 4-4, 5-5. Columbus Crew had some open sitters at the beginning of the game that they didn't finish. They did a great job breaking down the NYC defense, and if they play the way that they did on that small field in Yankee Stadium, we're going to see a show today.
Is there a chance that they can come back in NYCFC? How does it happen?
If there's a chance, it's through David Villa, of course. You know, he got the 1 goal in this last one, but he had a lot of opportunities. You see here some shots that just get pushed a little bit wide. That's uncharacteristic for a player of his caliber. I think Patrice is right. The red card ended up changing this one, being more decisive than anything. But they're going to need to break this game into segments. Start the first 15, try and get one back, try and get another one before halftime, and give themselves a shot. But this Columbus Crew SC team has been the story of the MLS Cup playoffs so far. Gone down to Atlanta, got it done. Did it at home against NYCFC in convincing fashion. You can say what you want about the red card. They took their opportunities when it came. I actually don't think they're going to sit back in this one. I don't think that's part of their DNA. I think Berhalter is going to send them forward, try and get a goal early, and then potentially just sit this one out.
Crew SC, I think, has been dealing with a lot, and we've talked about it on this show, Patrice, and the possibility that they could move to Austin, everything that's going on with the Save the Crew movement on Twitter and elsewhere. When you look at this from afar in this situation and you think about what it might be like in that locker room, is this the type of thing that brings a team together so much that it fuels a playoff run that maybe you didn't expect otherwise? Because remember, this is the hottest team in the league, by the way. They haven't lost in 12 games.
Yeah, definitely. This is the playoffs, so, of course, the mindset is, you have a chance to get to the MLS Cup. And also, you never know what could happen, so this could be the last image you leave in Columbus if things change. But I think you're at the stage where you try to not think too much of what could happen with the club. You know that there's a possibility right now, and as players, we think of what's ahead, what's in front of us, and now they've finished the season very well. They came into the playoffs, and I think there's a team that's the underdog because we don't talk to them as much because Toronto FC is in the same conference. But this is a team that I think could go all the way.
I think they like being underdogs.
I think they do too.
Yeah, I mean, they go down to Atlanta in front of 67,000. Then they go against a team with a World Cup winner as the coach, World Cup winner as the striker, all the sort of big stars and things that come around with being involved with a club like NYCFC. But this has been the team that's gone out and proven it. I think they kind of like a little bit of that. I've played on teams like that. I know, Patrice, you have, Megan, I'm sure as well. You're probably actually more on the favorites always. I think that's kind of pushed them forward more than anything.
Remember this game at 5 p.m. Eastern on ESPN, TSN, TVA Sports. Here are the scenarios for you. You're going to see a lot of yellow on this graphic because just about everything since Crew SC through. That's what happens when you win 4-1 in the first leg. 3-0, 4-0, 5-0. That will be an NYCFC win. They will go on to the conference finals. 4-1, which was the score in last season's season finale, Patrick Vieira pointed out this week, would send us to extra time. 5-1 would move them through. Those are some difficult score lines to get. Megan, Crew SC, is there a weakness here? Is there something NYCFC can exploit? Because I look at the back line, susceptible sometimes this year with mistakes, and then they gave a ball away in the midfield a couple times in this first leg that could really kill them in this game.
This is the Crew's game to lose. If they just want to sit in and play defense the whole time, it's almost a sure bet that they can win. But at the same time, watching last game, they gave the ball away in some bad places, and they had some poor clearances. And from those bad clearances, from those errant passes, you had David Villa just missing wide, hitting the post. You had a bad touch in the box where he just didn't get the shot off. So to me, NYCFC could have had a few goals, especially before they went down a man. And if they play with that fire and that spark right at the beginning, get a goal, crazier things have happened.
Yeah, look, road goals are so important. Patrice, would you rein a minute off your Greg Berhalter? Or would you say, guys, go for it?
No, I believe that, they know New York CFC has to go out there and score 3 goals. But with the players they have, they're confident in their abilities, and they know they have confidence since the end of the season. They're going to go out there, Camara, Higuain, Dos Santos, or Maram. Those guys, if they get a sniff, they'll be able to score a goal and make it even harder
and
for
New York City. In this one as well.
Yeah,
obviously, that red card hurt them last game, but it also hurts them in this one. They're going to have to play makeshift center back movement. Maybe you see Ethan White slide in, or Briant comes back. It should be interesting to watch how they line this up, but the margin for error for them is so slim that you'd have to think Columbus gets one in this one, and for me, puts it away.
Yeah, any road goal probably puts this one out of reach for Patrick Vieira, David Villa, and the blue side of New York. That game's at 5 p.m. Eastern, but the first game of the day is at 3, coming up in just 15 minutes from BMO Field. The Supporters Shield winners, Toronto FC hosting the New York Red Bulls with a 2-1 edge. 2 away goals, extremely valuable in this situation for Greg Vanny and his boys. Let's take a look at the lineups here. We'll start with the New York Red Bulls. As you can see here, a little bit of a change. Our own Dave Goss will chat to in just a little bit, guys, reports that Tyler Adams is in the midfield and Gonzalo Verón, is up top. When you look at this lineup, it's a departure from what they have been doing recently, Patrice, with that 3-5-2 or 5-3-2, whatever we want to call it. What do you think Jesse Marsch is going for here?
Oh, they have to score goals. They want to put people in the box. You know that TFC plays with 3 men at the back, and usually when you put a lot of people against them, there's been possibilities in the game, the first leg, and now you see that they have to go for it because it's 2 away goals that they took, and there's nothing. They can't go for a draw. They really have to go out there and win this game by a margin of at least 2 goals. So I see that Jesse's going out for it and putting people up front, Verón and Bradley Wright-Phillips, to put some pressure on that back line from TFC.
Only team that beat Toronto FC this year in Toronto. This guy right here, he was on it. Montreal Impact in a wild game. Megan, I'm looking at this back line right now saying, oh boy, you've got your hands full in Sebastian Giovinco and Josie Altidore, and I assume Victor Vasquez, those outside backs. How do you approach this game? How do you stop this team? Is it possible?
It's absolutely possible. As a defender, we always think that if we get scored on, even if it's a world-class shot, that we could have done something before that opportunity to make sure they didn't even get that shot. So it's going to be important for these guys to make sure they're keeping them in front, keeping Josie Altidore outside, making sure he can't get on the end of anything in the box, and just containing their talents.
Josie Altidore scored, or set up a goal, from wide in this game. Sebastian Giovinco in the first leg. Yep, Murillo tried to stop it, but that free kick is absolutely lethal. Let's take a look at the Toronto FC 11 here, and as you can see, Victor Vasquez, Drew Moore are back. That's a big deal, Kaylin. Those are the guys they're leaning on, 2 veteran leaders, and this team knows what's up. They've been doing it all year long.
Yeah, but they have the depth besides these guys. You want to go with your lead horses. Moore's been their anchor in the back line all year. He's going to need to be massive today to stop Bradley Wright-Phillips from getting on the board, and Verón with that extra number. But TFC dominates in the middle of the park. Bradley, Vasquez, Delgado, and I think that's why you've seen the Red Bulls maybe add Adams to the mix. They've realized maybe they're not going to be able to get down the flanks as they had hoped in the first leg, so maybe they try and now clog the middle as some of those Montreal teams have done in the past, Patrice. So how important is it to win the middle of midfield against this team?
Yeah, especially against Toronto, because they're really good. Like you said, it's a team that goes down 16, 17, 18 man deep. And you really got to make sure that in the middle you win the ball, and you have to force Michael Bradley out of his comfort zone because he really helps that back line. And once they did it, they've done it in the first leg. Red Bulls, if Brad Wright Phillips were a bit more efficient, it could have gone. It could have finished 2-2, and it would be probably a different storyline. But now Adams with Felipe and Papa Sasha coming in there, they have to compete with those guys and make the ball move and force them out of their comfort zone.
I'm going to ask you to do something that's outside your comfort zone, Patrice. Explain to me why Toronto FC is so good. Are they the best team in MLS? Are they the best team in MLS history? Look, you're an Impact guy, but it can't be ignored, right? It can't be ignored.
It's difficult as much to say, but they've built well. In the last 3 seasons, you saw that they are where they are. It has been invested, and it's not just now. We don't talk about the guys on the bench, Tosin Ricketts, Osorio, Canadians. They come off the bench, and you've seen during the season, Jovinko wasn't there for a while, Josie wasn't there for a while, and they kept rolling. They kept dominating teams. It's only towards the end of the season, even that's where we beat them at the end of the season at home. They got their first loss toward the end. So this team is dominant. It's almost theirs for the taking, but there's possibilities to beat them.
When I've watched you guys go against these guys, and you match up better than anybody, and partly because of that is you guys counterattack. But what scares me for the Red Bulls today is they don't have the luxury of counterattacking. They're down 2-1 in this series.
No, they got to attack. They got to possess the ball. And I think Toronto last game also, they sat back. They kind of used the impact use system from 2016 where they sat back, they countered, and if you leave guys like Jovinko and Josie on one-on-one, they're lethal. And Jovinko right now, even if he doesn't score an action play, he can score off a set piece. We saw the second goal is from a set piece he took a few plays on, got the set piece, scored. It's going to be difficult for Red Bulls, but they have to go out there, and there's nothing to lose.
But they should build on where they had success last game. I think that some of their defenders, Long, Pernille, like when they had time on the ball, they were able to get Bradley Wright Phillips in behind. Just a missed touch. He could have had maybe 1-2 goals. So I think they should play to that and where they had success last game and try and build on that.
So there's one thing that's acceptable for Toronto FC this year in these playoffs. That's MLS Cup. They lost it in heartbreaking fashion last year at BMO Field to Seattle Sounders. Again, you've won a title this year with the Thorns. What's it like right now when you have those high expectations? You still have a little ways to go. You know you have to prove it. What's the locker room like? What are the conversations like? How do you approach getting to that ultimate goal?
Everyone is hyped. Everybody is on a different level. And with that different kind of energy, there comes outside distractions. There's more media, there's more interviews you have to do, there's a lot more people wanting your time and energy. So it's all about managing those expectations, managing that energy, and making sure that everybody's pulling in the same direction as opposed to one person's going this way, one person's going this way, making sure the team is going in the same direction together.
Michael Bradley said all season long, look, game by game, effort by effort, we're putting all our all in. We want to be there at the end of the season, hosting this game at BMO Field. If they get there, they will, as Supporters Shield champions. Our own David Goss is also at BMO Field. Dave, what's up, man? How's it going? A little rainy?
Yeah, it's okay. A lot of Drake. So it's been raining Drake all day, but the rain has currently stopped. They tell me it's warm. I don't know. I guess that's a Toronto thing. Patrice, you could tell me how to get that inner warmth to me, but it's pretty nice. It's a good day. Jesse Marsh, actually speaking about the rain, said that he's actually happy about it. He feels like it might mess the game up a little bit, and that's what New York's working to do.
So Jesse Marsh made an interesting decision with his 11, Dave, and we can see Gonzalo Varone in the lineup. They've got to go get goals. Tyler Adams moving in. Did you speak to him at all about this? What did he say? What's the plan here?
It's the same as what I just said about the rain is he wants to get Toronto, like you see running by, to get out and play. He needs this game to open up more, and he needs mistakes, and he needs a messy game, and he needs more transition than he had in the last game. So it's not just putting Varone up top and giving you another attacking option. It's actually taking Tyler out of the back and trying to convince Toronto to go forward a little bit more. I know he believes in what Tyler can do in central midfield. He needs another attacking option, but he said, and like Kalen talked about, transition is the only time teams score against Toronto. So So he needs to create a more open field, and he needs players up top like Verón to play through quickly before Toronto can set up defensively.
Toronto, meanwhile, Dave, I mean, look, they could just pull in and attack with 3 and probably score 4 goals in this game. What's Greg Vanney make of this whole thing? What's he make of the occasion today, the tactics he's going for? I wouldn't guess they'd change a thing, right?
Measured is the only word that the Toronto coaching staff said over and over and over again. Measured. It's just controlling their emotions coming into this one. Remember, they haven't really played a normal, what you could call a 2-leg affair. The crazy game against NYCFC last year, as well as the wild start against Montreal last year in the conference finals. So this game is more about coming out, setting the tone, relaxing, understanding your situations, and knowing that they can attack and score goals when they want to. So to not panic too much and try and stay focused minute to minute on the task at hand.
Do you get a feel for pressure here on Toronto FC? Is there more? Is the stadium abuzz? Do you hear from those guys about what the expectations are? Or is this just kind of, here's our goal, we're going for it, we know we have the talent to do it, do the job?
I think that's more of the element. This game's been sold out for a while. They added extra seating. They were talking to me about the media coverage. They say Maple Leafs are away, Blue Jays are gone. We are the team right now. We're getting all the interviews. Everyone's here to cover us. They know, but they've also all said it doesn't feel the same as last year. Last year was this excitement like this might be possible, and this year there's an expectation that they'll get there. And getting the 2-1 win in the first leg, they believe that they're on their way. And so it's a different environment to what they're doing, back to what Megan was saying, and they seem to be quietly confident. There hasn't been a lot of talk of what it would be like if they were to lose this game. I don't really know that there's an expectation there that they will.
Goss, Moore and Vasquez, you see in the starting lineup, both came off in the first leg with knocks. What's their health update, and are they ready to go full out tonight, potentially 120 minutes?
Yeah, they trained yesterday. They didn't fully train during the week, and I was told by the coaching staff that they're 100%. And I don't think they'd put them in there if they weren't, especially more when talking to them about Nick Hagelin. They understood the first few minutes were a little bit shaky when he came off the bench against New York, but they feel like the back line works exactly the same with Hagelin in there as it does with Moore. And so they wouldn't risk Drew Moore if they thought he was potentially a limitation or potentially could hurt himself, because they feel as confident when Nick Hagelin is there as well.
All right, Dave, before we get you out of here, I need your prediction. I need a player to watch here. Who are we looking at, and what's the score going to be?
So I'm going to get credit for my 2-1 prediction for TFC first leg, right?
Yeah, of course. You always get credit. You knock it down, we'll give it to you, man. Shoot your shot.
We've Shadamis. In this one, I think there's going to be a lot of goals. Jesse said to me, conceding doesn't matter for us. We need to score. We know we need to score too, but we need to score goals. So I'm going to say a 3-2 TFC win.
3-2 TFC win. That, of course,
I'll put Victor Vasquez.
Okay, those are good ones. 3-2 TFC. We, of course, send them through. Dave Goss will join us afterwards with all the reaction from BMO Field. Have fun, man. All right, guys, let's get into prediction time of our own. Kaylin, I'll start with you. I need a difference maker from each of you, and then I need a prediction. Maybe game, maybe series, however you want to take it. Kaylin, I'm going to go Houston-Portland for you, the nightcap. Player to watch, prediction.
The MVP.
Ah, there you go.
Of course, Diego Valeri.
He's not crowned yet, man. We're assuming. I know you feel pretty strongly about this.
I don't have any inside info. I was going to say I did, but I don't. No, I just know that he's been so tremendous for them all season, through injuries, through adversity, and at home. He's been so consistent for them. Diego Valeri, as much as I would love to represent for my Houston guys, I think this is the end of the road. I actually think it'll be pretty easy for Portland. I'm going to say 2-0 win. Even
without the Diego Chiraza of the world in the game. Megan, NYCFC Columbus, player to watch, and your prediction.
Yeah, so this might be an obvious pick, but I'm going to go with David Villa.
Sometimes the obvious ones are the best ones.
Yeah, have to go with him because last game he had 2 chances that I'm sure he wants back. They need him today. They need him to step up in a big way. So I got my eye on him. And in regards to predictions, I think that Columbus has this wrapped up, but I would love to see a high-scoring game. So maybe 2-2, 3-3. Especially on that field at NYCFC, anything can happen.
I would take that. Goals, please. Goals in the 2017 Audi MLS Cup playoffs. Patrice, TFC Red Bulls, you're going to have a hard time convincing anybody that TFC don't go through. Can you do it?
I think TFC is going to go through, but the player to watch for me in this game will be Bradley Phillips because he had the chances, and I think it's just a question of efficiency to try to put Red Bulls in a way of confidence to maybe pull something out, and adding Veron gives him a little bit more room to maneuver. So I'm hoping that he'll be the player to watch for me. But TFC is too strong. I think they're gonna. I think 3-2 is the scoreline I'd go with too, because there's going to be some goals, but TFC is going to the next round.
I hope you guys are right. Goals, 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 please. 3 games coming up. Of course, the first team already to the conference finals are the Seattle Sounders. 3 more will learn their fates today. 3 more will suffer disappointment. Toronto FC, New York Red Bulls gets us started right now on ESPN, ESPN Deportes, TSN, and TVA Sports. NYCFC and Columbus Crew SC is smack in the middle of the sandwich there on ESPN at 5 p.m. Eastern. And then we finish the night with Portland, Houston, 0-0 in the first leg. Who will get it done in the second? 7:30 p.m. Eastern, FS1, Fox Deportes, TSN, and TVA Sports. And of course, we will be back after all of the action, as you see the scenes right now from BMO Field. MLS Playoff Central coming to you immediately after that final whistle of Houston and Portland. Come hang out with us. We'll break it all down for you. And, of course, all the coverage at MLSsoccer.com and on the MLS app. Enjoy the action, everybody. 3 games here on MLS Soccer Sunday. We'll be back later. Have fun.